Okay, good evening and welcome to the October 1st meeting of the Tyngsborough Capital Asset Committee. I'm Ron Schneider. I'm the chair of this meeting tonight. The following meeting is being recorded and broadcast by Tyngsborough Media. The meeting is also available on our local cable access channels on Comcast and Verizon Fios, and as a live stream on our website, www.tyngsboroughma.gov. The recording of this meeting will be available through the video on demand portion of our website. Open meeting laws require that any member of the audience who intends on recording either audio or video declare that now. Seeing no one, I will now start the meeting with introductions to my right.
Good evening, Colin Loisel, Town Manager.
Good evening, Sean Walsh, Assistant Town Manager.
Anthony Tenorella, School Committee. Ryan McMahon, School Committee. Good evening, Eric Eldridge, Select Board.
Earl Mason, Finance Committee.
Thank you. Item number 1, reorganization of our board.
I'll make a motion to nominate Eric Eldridge as chair. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next is vice chair. Do I have a nomination for vice chair?
I'll nominate Tony. Second.
I have a motion and a second for vice chair of Anthony Tenorella. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Yeah. And then lastly, the clerk.
Nominate Earl. I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Mr. Chair,
All right.
you're in charge.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a glorious honor. So we have some meeting minutes to review and approve. There's 4 meetings in there. I don't see any reason to take them individually. Can we do them en masse? So
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Do I need, you want me to put in the dates in there?
As presented on agenda.
On the agenda?
That'll suffice.
Motion, did I hear a second?
Yes, sir.
Got a motion, and a second. Any further discussion on those? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? That carries 5-0. All right, now we can dig right into the fun, which is the fiscal year 27 through 31 capital plan process and review.
All right, so a couple things, and then we can look at the 5-year plan, which, as you all know from your experience on capital, is not really a final plan. We expect there will be changes. The first thing I would point to, and then I'm going to turn it over to Sean, is the schedule. The schedule is relatively similar to your schedule last year. The purpose of this meeting will really just be to see if you have any feedback on the form that we used last year. If there's information that you felt that you didn't get last year that you would have liked to see. We included a PDF version of the form in your packet. Our goal is to make whatever changes you suggest tomorrow and then send our instructions out to department heads on Monday. This is, I think, 2 weeks earlier than we did it last year. But we know that last year, we just want to make sure that we have ample time to review things. We've already started kind of a slow case-by-case meeting with some of the larger departments. I think we've made it through DPW, police, and fire so far to see if any of the items that they included last year have either become less of a priority or alternatively become more of a priority, just to get a real feel, and Sean's going to walk through that spreadsheet in a second, of what we might be dealing with going into the review process. All of this has us presenting our final capital plan to the select board by March 23rd. That's very similar to what we did last year. And as you can see in the schedule, we've included the 2 meetings with Finance Committee, one to discuss the items that you're considering recommending, and then a final meeting, which I think last year we actually did in 1 meeting, getting their perspective on the financing. We talked about this last year. It's the same thing this year. We have to rely on just borrowing and free cash. We've submitted our tax rate recap to the state, and so I expect actually that we'll have our free cash number much earlier than we had last year. So I'm not even going to throw an estimate out because it's never what I say it will be. But I do suspect that our free cash number this year will be better than last year. And we know we've been planning for and have accounted for needing to borrow. I just mentioned before the meeting started that the $9 million ban we did today for the kind of gap I'm calling it on the middle school until the MSBA does the final reimbursement. the fire truck that capital approved last year, schematic design for the fire station, and then also the capital improvements that were approved for the police department. We got a 3.5% interest rate. So if we have to borrow this year, if things continue, we did have our AA plus bond rating reaffirmed. So we know that'll be a big part of it. The big things is looking at our apparatus, largely around fire and DPW. DPW has some unique circumstances. We have a 2015 truck that we bought less than 10 years ago that's already crapped the bed and is not repairable. So we're looking at how we might be able to accommodate our winter operations, but maybe using smaller trucks like the 1 tons that we have if we can get a sander on it. So those are some things that Sean's talked to some of the departments about, but the schedule doesn't change very much. After this initial meeting, I expect that Sean will be the one at your meetings, as much as I love hanging out with all of you. But obviously I'll be here with Sean to help him. This is his first capital program. So with that, I'll have Sean walk through probably the 5-year plan first, and then, because that may,
Yeah.
this is the same. So you saw this at the end of the year last year. What we did, you can see the items in red were originally submitted for departments, I believe, in fiscal year 26, and those weren't funded, so we bumped them to fiscal year 27. Since then, Sean has communicated, like I said, with at least DPW, police, and fire to see what their priorities are, and so I'll let him take over what we're looking for in 27.
Yeah, so as Colin said, I've talked to Chief Woods, Chief Russell, Kath Ayer from Sewer, and briefly touched with the school department as well. Really just looking for items in fiscal year 27 that are either not relevant or can be rearranged a little bit. I was not soliciting any new requests, ahead of this meeting, as we prepare for, sending the form that we'll discuss out to departments. But really just looking at, was anything funded from alternative funding sources opposed to capital, and can be moved, or did priorities shift? That could be, either pushed to future fiscal years, or we need to accelerate from, future years up until fiscal year 27. So in the spreadsheet that I have here on the screen and was sent to you as well, the items in red, as Colin mentioned, were pushed from fiscal year 26 to 27 based on, not being funded. The majority of these are from the police department in discussions with Chief Woods. Down below in purple here, it's similar, was, instead of being pushed from fiscal year 26, was just accelerated up from fiscal year 28, the mobile data terminals replacement for the police department. All in all, what we're looking at, at the end of last year when we wrapped up capital, our fiscal year 27 number, including the sewer enterprise, was just under $1.7 million, 1.668. And that, just based on the reshuffling of some priorities, including sewer, is now up to just over $2.1 million for fiscal year 27. Now that does include a approximately $240,000 increase in the Fowling Street sewer project based on federal government grant funding that hasn't been, allocated at this point. So due to a grant match, that number has increased quite a bit. Happy to drill down into this as anyone would like, but I just wanted to give a brief summary of where things are heading into the plan.
Why don't we open up to the board? A lot of stuff done through. Mr. Schneider, do you want any questions, comments so far? I guess you're probably just trying to figure out where are we good with process, the steps that we're taking, and then any other items that may be applicable to the list.
No, I mean, most of these items are all on last year's list, right? So nothing is unfamiliar. We've shifted from year to year a little bit. Maybe some of the prices are going to get updated. So that's fine. As far as process-wise, I've looked at the form, the calendar. I love the form. I think it's very complete, very comprehensive. It asks all the right questions. If we can get people to fill it out in its entirety, that will be a useful tool to us. As far as our process for when you are meeting with the various departments, when we're going to be meeting with FinCom, Select Board, I think that works really well. I like the timing of it, and the fact that we're starting a few weeks earlier than last year. I think that behooves us all.
Mr. Tinarella?
There are a few items on here that are beneath our threshold. I know we've had several conversations over the last couple of years in regards to that threshold and how we're going to support these. I do not remember if we've come up with a solution for that yet, or I know we were looking to possibly do a fund for things under that
Yeah.
through the discretion of the town manager or this committee, we could just purchase those items. But I think it's something that we should revisit again.
Yeah, I think it's related to like the budget, right? So there's some departments like.
Cemetery department.
It's, well,
The
now
one
under
we've always-
DPW,
Yeah.
that's now under DPW, so.
Yeah.
It's the ones that might not have a big enough budget. They might have to put something in there that's $15,000, because that's like twice their budget.
Yeah.
But, I do also think that there are some items in there, we've seen it like with the police station. I don't know if IT does it, but I think like the police station is one that comes to mind. They have like line items in there for individual improvements, but we all know that they have X amount that we need to spend over the next few years just to get the building to where it's there. So we might combine some things individually. Yeah, we want to, I guess, hold to the line as much as we can, but it is up to, it's our discretion as to whether we go through and do that. So,
Correct.
yeah, I think that, and there's some items that we'd like to just have, and if it's something that's gonna come back every couple of years, or, you know what? Let's figure out how to get it into the budget so that it doesn't have to go through this
Go
process.
to, right. Because you got you have an electrical panel replacement for 7,500 at the police department. That obviously is not something they put in their normal budget.
Right.
But it's beneath our
Yeah,
threshold.
right.
So.
Yeah.
Where do those get put? And I know we can do that, but.
Yeah, I think that if you weren't inclined to fund it, and I don't even know that I don't know that I've noticed the $7,500 one in there before. If you weren't inclined to fund it, then we would seek to fund it either through an existing project, or maybe through a larger project. I can see like the IT department did break down the server upgrade and the network rewire go hand in hand with the backup and recovery solution. So we can probably work on how we present these. I can't find an applicable project for the electrical panel, so.
Well, the one above that, the security camera upgrade, could you perhaps combine it with that project? So instead of 65, they're at 72, and do those around the same time.
Yeah, let me dive deeper. We can dive deeper into the 7,500.
Yeah, I think Mr. Tamarel's point is, you know what? But we'd like to have something that's easier for us to go through if you need to combine it into, a
Right.
project. Or
Yeah.
whatever. That's the joy of having the town manager go through and do the back and forth.
Yeah, or even just having an account that anything less than $10,000, if we had whatever you call those accounts, and we had one with $50,000 in it, and it was your discretion on things like this that we need over the course of the year, we wouldn't have to wait for the process. You could authorize it,
Yeah.
something of that nature.
Yeah,
Revolving
do
account.
you want to talk about the, because finance, we did fund it. Now it's done through finance committee. 'Cause one of the things that we had talked about last year, or maybe we were talking about a couple of years ago. But to have that type of, if you got an emergency, something that it doesn't fall into this category, we need it, it's a mid-year thing. What we found was that there was a mechanism for that.
Right.
And it was in the FinCom. And so I don't think we had funded it 2 years ago, but we funded it this fiscal year. So we do have that, that's 50.
Yeah.
Did we do 50?
We did 50,000. I think though that is totally true. In fact, last year was the first year in many, many years that we dipped into it to replace the fuel tanks at the DPW building. They failed and needed to be replaced imminently. The one thing about this, like something like the 7,500, I think would benefit these smaller items. If capital is not going to fund them, wouldn't necessarily be eligible for the FinCom reserve fund because it's not an emergency. Like if we're saying today that next fiscal year we'll have to replace a panel, I'd have a hard time justifying it as an emergency. But if there was some, and we can see how other communities handle, if there was some smaller pot of funds that maybe required me notifying you that I intended to spend it, because I wouldn't want to take it completely away from the capital asset. We can see if there are other communities that do it. FinCom is certainly the right place to go for emergency repairs, but for some of these smaller ones,
Just lower our threshold to 5,000.
Is the threshold 10 right now? Is that the threshold? Do we give guidance?
I think we've up to 25.
25.
25.
But yeah, and we added discretion for the committee. I mean, again, I don't want to throw a department under the bus here. I mean, I think even the 7,500 is probably below a threshold I would have tossed onto it. I think that we can find, because this isn't something that they're doing every year. This is a once in a while thing. So I wouldn't worry about the 7,500. We may find that there are other buildings that have panels that need to be replaced too, and maybe it's a larger town-wide capital item at some point.
That's what I was thinking. So one of the things that we've been trying to do, and I don't know where we are, but looking at all of our buildings and the maintenance that's required. I mean, I think the police station right now is I guess it's a perfect case example, right? It needs a bunch of stuff, but I think every building has something that it needs, and we should have a maintenance plan with some sort of funding to keep up with things that need to be done like that. So I don't know whether it fits in with a town-wide type of thing or whether it's building specific, but I think that should be good homework for you is to, we've tried to, that's been in our goals. I know in the administration goals for a while is, all right, we know we got buildings. We know we've got to take care of them. We know there's going to be things that pop up. Some of them are huge. Some of them are $7,500 electric panels that are going to go through and maybe we sit there and bundle those together.
Yeah, and this plan should include those larger capital items. Many of the smaller maintenance items are included in folks' operating budgets, so we can make sure that departments are accurately reflecting, and this may have been the attempt, but we can get more creative about combining some things so that it's...
But make sure we're smart, like, we shouldn't wait until electrical panel is an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snap it to God and safety issues. Or,
Yeah.
On here is always the new water heater. I'm sure it's not planned replacement, but you don't want to wait for a water. That kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm all in favor of the electrical panel replacement for the police department. And I would approve it through this process
Yeah.
if this is the process.
Yeah,
that-
no, it's a totally good point.
Approve it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Mr. McMahon?
So I agree with, Ron, the form's very good. The only additional piece of information I think may be useful is how many times this request has been made to capital asset.
No.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And then I think it would just help, you have something similar, well, this has been here 5-6 times, this is the first year. Let's go through a little one.
It's a good point.
We can do something twofold on that. We can look at data on our end once something's been submitted, but we can also ask folks, have you asked for this before? So we can capture it two ways and kind
Yeah.
of double check ourselves
That's a good point
as well.
To understand deferrals, that type of thing, or just?
Well, just to have a sense of how long they've been asking for something.
Yeah, so we moved things from 24 to 26 to 27.
Yeah.
But were they on 25, 24, and 23 of the request as well?
Yeah.
Right.
Is it 5 years of request?
Or even there's a lot of things that don't make it through the, initial screening.
Sure.
Town manager, assistant town manager, how many of those things at some point need to rise up to our level?
Yeah.
Just knowing how long we needed.
Yeah, so to your point, when it goes from being a planned expenditure to being an emergency, right? And so if something's been requested 4 years in a row, are we getting to the point where it's going to be an emergency expenditure and maybe it's going to be more expensive than if we had addressed it when it needs to be addressed?
Preventive maintenance is a lot cheaper than.
Exactly.
Responses.
Exactly.
Wow, that's good stuff, Ryan.
Thank you.
Can we quote him on that?
You good?
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Mason?
The only thing I would think on the form too is lead time. When do you need something by?
Mhm.
Some things you
Good point.
order and it takes 38 weeks to get. So
Mhm.
do I need something in 28 that I have to order in 27? So maybe somewhere on the form, you got a fiscal year required, maybe an in-service date or a lead time
Yeah.
comment, maybe.
Absolutely.
Just depending on like some of these things, like the fire trucks take a while to get. Some of the DPW trucks you guys spoke about in the past, right?
Yeah,
Forever.
That's a good point.
Absolutely.
I think we're still waiting for some
We have a November, I think, 3rd or 4th delivery date for the one we ordered 3 years ago.
So even if I wanted something in
It's a-
28,
Yeah.
it would be in 27's budget to spend, because it may take 26 weeks to 30.
No, in
How does that work?
In Massachusetts, you can't sign a contract to purchase something unless you have the funds appropriated.
Okay.
So as much as it would make sense to say, well, we'll order it today and we know we won't have to worry about it for 3 years, I can't sign a purchase order or a contract until the money's appropriated.
But if I did want to get, if I need it by the beginning of the next fiscal year, you better order pretty early.
Yeah,
Right.
in the
yeah,
process.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great form, great form. And do they fill out this form for all the years? 20, they do all 5 years?
Mhm.
Yes,
Again, there's not that many items, so it's not that many forms.
right, yeah, so we asked them for what fiscal years and they can select some or all,
Good.
whatever they need.
The DPW truck we're paying 3 years ago's prices instead of today's, I hope.
Currently, yes, but they certainly try to get you on the other price because they've got you over a barrel. There's nobody else. They tried to provide a new price. We fought back. So far, the price has stayed the same, but it's a constant game.
Yeah, the only thing I was gonna say is, I think for, items for the current fiscal year, as much detail as possible. You know, I know sometimes they were putting in detail for things that are 5 years out. I think a summary for something that's 5 years out, the best guess on what the cost might be is good enough, because but once we start getting a year or two out, that's when we really want to think, I want to understand what this item is and what the impact is of not doing it too, so that those are things, that would be the only instructions that I would give them is don't kill yourself on the stuff that's 5 years out, really focus in on the current stuff, because we want to know it for planning, but we really want to make some decisions on the stuff that's closer. The only other question I had was, what's feedback from the departments? What is their process, and is this better for them? Because the reason we went down this road was not to be easier on us. We just felt that it was easier overall to go through and get those things. So how do they feel about the process? Is there grumbling, or are they?
No, I think they like the process. I think it gives them, particularly, I think the last 2 years we've used basically an identical form, so it gives them something, continuity. They know what to expect. And it does a lot of, as annoying as it might be to make them get the 3 quotes beforehand, if their project is something that we end up funding, they've already done most of the work at the onset. They may not like the end result because not everything gets approved, but they like the process to get there.
Yeah, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do is make it easier for everybody so that we get the right stuff at the right time. And then we can focus in on maybe being a little bit more proactive in some of these things than having us just be reactive. Okay. Is that what you were looking for relative to feedback?
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Well, you're welcome.
So we'll incorporate the feedback on the form, and then, like Colin said, we should be able to review that and get that out to departments early next week.
Great. Okay. And everybody's good with the schedule? As
So-
far as, the overall schedule, just the timeline, I mean, we're starting early.
Right, but it's not significantly different from last year, so for various departments, there's no surprises here.
This is modeled off of last year's.
Yeah,
schedule.
exactly. So
I pulled the
The
data.
form is similar, the timing is similar, the requests are similar, so there should be no surprises.
One thing I will note on the schedule is the highlighted dates for Finance Committee. They have not set their dates yet for the coming season. They're expected to meet Wednesday next week. So David Andrews is going to get feedback on the potential highlighted joint meeting dates, just to confirm that those would work. So if there's any change there, I'll certainly communicate that with the committee as well.
Come on, Earl, let's get those people with a schedule.
And then just one follow-up point of clarification. So we have 6:30 tonight. Is 6:30? Is there a specific time that works better for folks? I know in the past you've done 6 and.
6 is challenging for me.
Yeah, we moved to 6:30 because I think, just coming back from work, there's some folks.
It used to be 5:30.
I know. I know, it's not gonna be tough. I mean, I don't care either way. Yeah.
6:30 works.
I don't care either way, but if it makes it easier for Ryan, and anybody else that's commuting, it's.
Are you gonna be on staff that late, Ron?
I was just saying work, what do you guys, what is this work time?
Oh, you retired. Okay, so are we good process-wise? Anything else that you needed from us relative to that?
And just on the schedule, is everyone good to do their next meeting on October 15th at 6:30?
Yes.
That would be, we'd have David Andrus come in and present the early funding options that you have an idea of what.
So. The 15th,
Yes,
I'm out of town.
I should double check. That's not a middle school building.
We have middle school building committee that day too.
I am traveling, but if there's,
Okay.
Yeah.
if everybody else can go.
No, we've got two people down.
Who else can be there?
Middle school.
Three of us. Well, I wasn't planning on coming anyway, no offense. But two of you are going to be at the middle school building committee meeting.
Let's say, shoot for a different day.
Do you want to keep the same week or do you want to push a week and stick with Wednesday?
I know I'm gone from the 15th through the 17th, so I'm around on the 14th.
Should we go to our next school committee is the 7th, so we don't.
Don't do the 13th, that's Columbus Day, so it can only be the 14th.
14 works.
14?
Yeah,
Perfect.
works, yeah.
Okay. There you have it. Wow, that was easy.
It's 6:30, right? 6:30.
6:30.
Town hall.
Town hall, yep.
Yep, absolutely. I'll get that on your calendar tomorrow.
Do you need any, we'll deal with the rest of the days after that?
Yep.
Anything else? That was all we had on the agenda. I
Mhm.
believe. Given that that's the last thing on the agenda, number 6 on the agenda is this thing, add.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries 5-0. Everybody have a great evening.
Bang up job, Mr. Chair.